Hi, I'm Alvaro Henrique and we are back to our technical level 2. It's an intermediate course as we teach at the Escola de Música de Brasília. Brasília is in a region in Brazil. It's quite different from São Paulo or Rio. It's in the center of the country. It's a very rural area full of cattle. So it will be a little bit like Texas for you. So it's very common on the folk music, the local folk music, to have these thirds and sixths. So it should sound similar to our years from Brasilia. This piece is about harmony. It has very interesting harmony choices, but at this level, especially in a piece like that, where you have chords so well explained out, it shouldn't be difficult for you to find the chords. Just remember, we are at F major, so the tonic is F major, the dominant is C, so here we have the dominant. There are some few chords that you may have trouble finding its function, but it should be quite easy. We have in measure 8 a tonic with fourth, then it goes to the third. Okay, consider this the 8th measure already a tonic chord, but with fourth that goes to a third. That you may have some trouble. What else which you may have some trouble? We have at the 14 measure 14, we start at the dominant, then we have a dominant of A minor, it's E major, so it's a dominant of A, and we have an A minor. Okay, but what's this A minor? What is its function? The A minor is the tonic anti-relative. Let me explain that. We have the tonic, F major, and we have two chords that are substitutes of the F major, the relative and the anti-relative. Don't ask me why anti-relative. I don't understand why this anti. This chord is not against anyone, it's not an enemy of anyone, but that's how it's called. That's how people call it in music. That's a name. Don't ask me why. You know, we have the F major. The relative is the first chord down, which has two notes in common with F major. So in F major we have F, A, C. Then 1/3 down we have B, F, A. It has two notes in common. This is the relative. When you are on a major chord, the relative is a third down. And when you do the same up, you keep two notes from the chord and add 1/3 up. The A minor, that's the anti-relative. That's the chord we have here in measure 14. The tonic anti-relative. And we have its dominant before in the second measure, and then tonic anti-relative. Then we start in measure 15 with the tonic relative. Both chords, the relative or the anti-relative, they are substitutes of the function. In the case tonic. So it's like as if it were a vice. So just like the vice president can substitute the president, the vice, the tonic relative substitutes the tonic. The tonic anti-relative also substitutes the tonic. So it's lower, softer relief. Which chord you may have trouble? We have this very interesting cadence in the end. We start in measure 25 with a dominant of the subdominant, then the subdominant, Then we have the dominant of the dominant and the dominant. Then we have the dominant of the subdominant, and then the subdominant as well, and a pause. But we are talking about that music later, okay? So we understood the harmony. Of course, you have to do the harmonic analysis more yourself. That's what you should be doing right now. You should be right now on your 4th year, on your 50th year playing the guitar. You should be able to recognize chords that far. If you are not, I could recommend you study theory, first chord recognition, then harmonic, functional harmony. That's something that you should know, at least the basic right now. In your 4th year playing the guitar, you should be able to recognize chords. Okay? But then we have the thirds. The first part is a lot about thirds and playing the thirds fast. How about fingering? When you have strings 3 and 2, and then we have the minor third, it's more, I recommend you to always finger with 3 and 4th, because it's not that clever to use a barré to do that kind of interval, although sometimes you can. But as a general rule, try to move always with the 1 in other strings especially. So when you are in a minor third, 1-3, when you are in a major third, 1-2, but always go with 1. It's easier. Some people try to finger, trying to avoid jumps and make some unique fingerings. It may work occasionally, but this is a study. You have to learn something from it. Why not learn now how to do jumps properly? Then you have proper repertoire. You already will have this skill. Why not now? Why postpone that? So, and how you should work that? First, play only without rhythm. Play each note. Think before. Visualize your finger. Then you go at once. Okay, and then release. Think on the finger. Imagine it there. Then go at once. And so forth. You have to learn how to have the proper command in your mind, send it to your hand, and then your hand follow. Don't trust in autopilot. Don't think that you're going to learn, by reaching out for each note, and then you wake up and you finally go there. Because that's not a very strong way. It will not have a very strong mental image. It's very important for you to have a clear mental image of the piece. If you can imagine, close your eyes, imagine you playing there, the finger. You will be able to play it right. If it's cloudy when you think, close your eyes and think while you play. If it's cloudy, muddy, and you are somehow reaching for the notes with your fingers, you have a very strong possibility of not playing that right. So first time, by doing that, first thinking and then playing, and you play suddenly, we are creating a very strong mental image in your mind. Okay? After you do that, you can study with dotted rhythms. first 18th, a dotted 18th, then a 16th. Then the opposite, 18th, 16th, and then a dotted 18th. So on. I think I played the wrong note, but you got it. Then we have the thirds from hell on measure 12 to 14. There is an extra problem here, which is this high C. I don't have big hands. In fact, for you to have at least some benchmark, if I do that in my left hand, from here to here, it's 20 centimeters. It's quite small. I have to give up this C lasting throughout the whole tempo. So I play this C, the first third, and when it's time for the next third, the C goes out. I'm always keeping my finger here on the second string ready to play the C once more, but I can't. It's not for my hand. If you can do so, keep your C and do the same. You can practice. In order to avoid tension, you can study that as I said, not necessarily playing the C, but just holding over the string without really pressing it while you think, then think for second. Think, imagine, go. Think, imagine, go. Think, imagine, and so on. And you can keep it there, but not necessarily pressing, to avoid injury. The same with the dotted rhythm. When you're practicing, keep it there, not pressing, just resting, and then the dotted rhythm. I really can't do it because it's not for my hand. But if it's for your hand, do so. There is a musical loss with that. Yeah, there is. But that's how I could play that piece. I'm playing that just because in our student program, I wouldn't select that for a concert because of that musical loss. But that I really need to play that piece because it's part of a program, and that's the best way I can do it, that's how I'm gonna do it. And it won't be as interesting, and we'll have this loss that some people won't have, but that's fine. I live for other people to play in concert and make great recordings with that, while I just study for educational purposes. So the second part, there are some things that I like to highlight two things more. First, we have a sequence of repeated notes. It starts on measure 17 and goes throughout the second section. This is a cliché of classical music. Every time you have repeated notes, you should play staccato crescendo. Every time, each repertoire, no matter for which instrument. When we have repeated notes, staccato crescendo. Okay? You should, because it's a C or a D, you can make this staccato with the left hand by releasing the left hand. But it's easier if you use planting. You arrive a little bit earlier with the right hand and you do staccato that way. It's also easier for you to control the crescendo if you arrive a little bit sooner, and then you can either make a short movement or longer to make the proper crescendo. Okay? Then we have at the end this very interesting cadence. We have the dominant of the dominant on, let's start from measure 25 You have the dominant of the subdominant, then the dominant of the dominant, then the dominant of the subdominant, and then the subdominant, and a pause. Wow, it's very uncommon to have a phrasing ending in the subdominant and with a pause just after that. Very unique. You have to highlight that. And I highlighted that so much that I decided to cut the repetition from the second part, because had I done the repetition, the ritornello, it would be like making the same joke for the same audience twice in a row, and then it doesn't sound funny any longer. So that's why I decided to cut the repetition. If you're not comfortable with that decision, you should play very square, like the metronome on the first time. And then you highlight the musicality of that part in your second part. It feels even like doing a cadenza, but it's not really a cadenza here, but it's amazing, you know. What I do, you can listen to my performance here. There's a link on the description of my performance. On the description there is also, you can also have the score that we are working on. I decided to play the subdominant in the end. Stop, wait for the silence. Depending on when you are, there will be some resonance in the room. Wait for the silence to come. Then when it's total silent, then you start preparing for the next piece. The audience knows it's not finished. The audience knows that it's uncommon, that harmonic, that harmony. And they know here it's a comma, it's not a period. So you can take your time to lead the audience to the end of the phrase. And then comes the relief. And the more you create suspense in that pause, the more magical will be that relief. Just like I did now while I was speaking. So it's a great piece, lots of work. So far the one that demanded me more study time to record for you, and work hard on these thirds, especially create a good mental image, think and then move, study with the other rhythms, and then you can play this piece. Have fun!